It is the winner's match. The winner gets first spot into the playoffs, and it is so important because that is essentially getting into the winner's bracket, whereas the loser of this match will be having to fight for their life. If they win the next match here in the group stage, they'll get put in the loser's bracket of the playoffs. Shopify Rebellion's ByuN in the bottom left, herO in the top right side of the map. And herO, he's the man everyone's talking about. He's aggressive, he's dynamic, his micro is good. He makes a lot of characteristic, oddball, weird things that he does, but it doesn't matter. Nothing matters in StarCraft except winning. I don't care how much you select all army key and spam your army back and forth like a weirdo. I don't care how much you leave your wall open with no one guarding it. If you keep winning as much as herO does, you have to put respect on his name.
Yeah, and in the past, there have definitely been some moments where it could all fall apart, but lately that's just happening less and less to herO. And even if there are some series that don't go his way, he always looks competitive. He makes it hard on anyone he plays. I'm curious to see what kind of builds ByuN will bring out, because I don't know if you can just do the exact same thing as you've been doing against SKillous, where so we don't mind a couple of Marines, then a Raven, and we move out with 2 tanks. herO has been absolutely slapping those move-outs down lately, and if he stabilizes on 3 bases while the Terran is still on 2 bases, and he's got a 10 work elite, and he's got Blink, and he's got Charge, that's just hell for any Terran out there. That's hell for ByuN as well. So I hope that ByuN has a few different things that he can bring to the show here, as he goes for a very quick command center, a Marine first.
Yeah.
Marine first against herO. No scout, I'm okay with it, as long as we actually get a bunker as well, or at least something that is very quick to battle these potential adapts on the low ground.
I think he'll have to. He even cancelled the Marine to get the command center started as quickly as possible, the idea being that it'll finish before an adept could possibly arrive. So it is it's a build where he'll go into reactor Marines, he'll go into the factory, but it's not the fastest reactor on the Marines by any chance. It is, of course, optimizing the quick factory. And a lot of people like to go Cyclone off this opening, specifically because you have no vision, you have no Reaper, you really don't know what's going on, and the Cyclone will shut down any early adepts, as well as keep you safe against Oracles. Problem is, if it is just a normal kind of Blink opening, it feels like the Cyclone's just not the unit you really want in those situations. So I really think for the players, you've got to weigh that up. What do you expect to face from your opponent? And see what you can get away with. Speaking of getting away with things, dude, there's still no bunker started. This is a greedy build for ByuN, just relying on Marines and Hellions to defend.
Yeah, it is greedy, but it works out because he does see this Phoenix, and I think at this point he is pretty certain that it's fake. If you just get a few shots off. Now, herO looks at this and he's like, man, no bunker? Okay, I've gone Sentry first. Not something that normally screams aggression, but I may as well just give it a shot because I kind of believe in a Sentry and a Stalker. Now, herO apparently changes his mind mid-map where he's like, maybe that's just a little bit too much. Because there's also a moment where if you send your units to the other side of the map, but the Hellion shows up here natural. A single Hellion is not something you're scared of, but if you've got nothing to battle a single Hellion, I've seen single Hellions get 4 or 5 probes. herO's probably seen it as well, so he is going to give it the respect that it deserves, does end up losing 1 work and make it a second. And actually, that's a good Hellion by ByuN, right? Pulls the units back. Gets a good scout off, gets to work. There's a bit of lost mining time. Hey, you'll take that if you're ByuN.
Phoenix going to be seeing which direction the medevac's coming from. It's about to run out anyways. You don't mind if he unloads to deal with the Phoenix because it's a free unit. Sentry going to get spotted there. He's going to make a new one. It's just so hard to get drops across the map against this build. ByuN is crazy though. For those who don't know, ByuN in this matchup is famous for basically trying to boost medevacs over Stalkers, like every single game. If he pushes your Stalkers out of vision by a single hair, like just by a centimeter, he'll instantly pick up and try to boost off to the side. So he's one of the most dangerous drop players. So it leads to ByuN sometimes slipping past Protoss in a position where they thought there's no way a Terran would be crazy enough to get in there. He wins games because of it. It's amazing when it works, and when it doesn't work and he loses a few full medevacs, you go, oh no. But I don't know, it's surprising for me because I watch the games. It's very rare that he gets caught out for it.
I mean, he is kind of deep right now, though, with this medevac, and Blink is already done. There's a lot of Stalkers on the side of herO. herO does not quite handle this perfectly, but obviously he's got all the time in the world to still deal with this. Gets the Marines, gets the Widowmine. Don't think he got the medevac, so that's the only thing that maybe he could have killed. But herO apparently prioritized not losing a Stalker to that Widowmine.
Yeah, he wanted to.
With it.
He wanted to kill the Widow Mine before it could shoot. It was definitely the greedy decision, right? They're like, I want to get both. But let's the medevac get away, which means now he's got 2 Stalkers pinned at home. The upside of which is the Raven is kind of pre-defended because of this. So it's actually not too bad for him. And he's got the Stalker Phoenix ready. He doesn't have an Observer for high ground vision. Great tank positioning for ByuN, by the way. If you blink into that, you're going to take tank shots immediately.
The reactor is going to get picked up on the starport. 1 Stalker has gone down. The 2nd Stalker very low on HP. Yeah, that turned out to be perfect positioning. Also because of the buildings. If the buildings are not there, then there is a chance the hero just walks forward, eats 2 tank shots, but then kills the tank, and then he can obviously continue to be aggressive with the Blinky boys. Well, this doesn't look too bad for ByuN, especially because hero's work account is just not that exciting. But hero is on 3 bases at this point. ByuN's getting more free shots off. That is a 2nd Stalker kill at this point. To go back to that drop, by the way, I think if you're a hero, you should just always prioritize the medevac. Because it's not that the Widow Mine burrowed in range of the probes and you couldn't mine anymore. That Widow Mine burrowed in a very awkward middle of nowhere spot. So I think if you just go for the medevac first, you always get the Widow Mine later. But in the end, all good. Did not lose a lot. Could have just been slightly better. And now you still do need to respect that tiny drop a little bit. It may not seem like much, but the moment that 4 Marines have stim, it's not something you can ignore.
Supply drops going down and 5 barracks here for ByuN. He's going to go all in on 2 base. He says, hey, those pushes went well against SKillous. Let's try that sort of style. Again, it's going to be a heavy zealot Stalker style. The big things we saw in the series versus SKillous, bit of a different situation, but similar enough, was we wanted to see more zealot counterattacks. We wanted to see more zealots flanking the tanks. And most importantly, just, of course, jumping on top when you do fight. Don't get worn down. But I think this is like a different setup. You know, the zealots are out faster. There's a good Stalker count. I think if you can bait a few stims early, there's only 2 medevacs just now joining up with this army. It's going to be hard for ByuN to break through.
Yeah, but I feel like that was 3 racks, though, in those games. This is 5, so it's a little bit different. The hero is going to force ByuN to siege in the center of the map. Does have a RoboVay on the way, but I think at this point that's the 2nd stim already, so it is going to start adding up real quick. Good split off there on the Zealot. You really don't want to take too much damage on your other Zealots. Just like in one of the other games, the Raven flies over the Protoss army, does drop the anti-armor missile, but now we lost the Raven again. And hero's doing a good job in buying time. And look at these Zealots on the right side pick. They're already getting ready. They're going to come in from this angle. And that's everything that we've been talking about.
Kept F2ing them back towards his main army, but he did correct it. herO, he's got to go for it, man. The Zealots getting on top of the Marines pretty quickly, but they just were dying so fast. If you can get rid of the tanks, it still might be okay. The red hit point, Marauder's going down to the Immortal there. The Immortal does some amazing damage, but ByuN does snipe it with a bit of a punish, picks up, pulls back, and he's got a good amount of production with the 5 racks. So this is not over by any means, but there is a Colossus halfway done, and with the tanks gone, if the Colossus comes out, you get +2, you get extended thermal lands. Like, the tech is in favor of herO right now. He's just got to buy time.
He warps in a 4th base. Warps in a 4th base against 2 base ByuN that just found a decent fight, but maybe hero's just so full of confidence after killing the tanks that he don't think he's ever gonna die here. But the fire still kind of scary, blinks forward, eats a couple Widowmine shots to the face as well. This Colossus needs to be stayed. The roar count is not that high, so ByuN can't really jump on it. I mean, hero's fighting with 29 armies, but he's just so confident.
Huge.
This man is oozing confidence, Piggy.
Oozing confidence. We got so excited there that Robot Roddy came back for a sec, but I think we're back to good now anyway. The Stalker's microing back. ByuN coming forward. The Widow Mine fires on the Zealot. The Bio running into the mineral line. The Colossus there. Is it going to be able to hold on? It feels like taking the 4th in the midst of this is one of the craziest things. But if you can hold, maybe. Oh, losing the Colossus is a disaster. If he just bought time for this Zealot warp in, that'd be very different. Good dodges, though, on these splits. Remember that ByuN, his income is going to be drying up here. 4th base is finishing. herO, the mad lad, cleans up that Widow Mine. He's still up 8 workers. He is down in army supply significantly, but it's ByuN that's on a timer right now.
Yep, ByuN needs to continue fighting. He's got double the army supply, but having to fight 4 bases and Colossus, he doesn't have anything that's great against Colossus, unless we can get a whole bunch of Marauders. hero's even transferring probes here. herO really does not respect anything that the Terran can currently throw at him. He needs to be careful, though. He's really going to have to get a few more Zealots. It just seems like he knows exactly what he can and cannot get away with. herO holds once more and even gets a medevac there.
Yeah, even getting the medevac with a Marauder in it at the tail end. I mean, his army's still so far behind. But it's just when there's no tanks or Vikings, like what can you do against 2 Colossus with +2 attack and range, 3rd one building. I like that the Zealots are still moving around looking for counterattacks. The Stalkers on the left. herO handling this situation really well.
herO hasn't been on the other side of the map, so maybe in his mind that could be a third base. One Colossus takes a lot of damage, but he does keep it alive, and shields can regenerate. Now ByuN is dropping a third base. Now ByuN is dropping a Ghost Academy. But this base is going to be dropped on location. Zealots will get an insta-cancel if they actually commit. No, they're going to turn around and fight a couple of Marauders and Marines instead. Wouldn't hate armor at this point for herO, and that is what he's going to get. Honestly, I think there is value there in just clicking on the command center.
It's definitely the better play because that's guaranteed, and it's so annoying for ByuN. I almost feel like it's better for ByuN here to just lift his main down at this point and you know, build the command center on a 4th base, right? Because his income and his main is drying up. He's got a lot of workers, can't really mine right now. They're just long distance for a while. Observer does get sniped. Ghosts and Vikings coming in. This is one of these games where we're like, well, Protoss is 4 base, so Terran is dead. And then we remember the great Mule. The Mule is there. Terran's hanging in. Zealot counterattack hits that 3rd yet again. It's going to find an SCV, but ByuN wants the free value. He wants to clean up Zealots without losing any more units. Only gets 1 of them this time. Colossus are on the front, though. The Viking count, it's only 2 Vikings against 3 Colossus. That is not good odds for the Terran.
Nope, the Widow Mines get picked up as well. Get a single Zealot in return. The stims are really going to hurt ByuN's army because he's got a decent amount of medevacs, but he doesn't have that much energy. Purification over there, tiny bit indecisive, but ByuN cannot stim down this ramp into 3 Colossus with +2. Even if all the Zealots disappear, this is not something that should ever end well. One more Nova flies in. ByuN is going to push herO all the way back. He's doing about as good as he ever could, but I just don't think it's ever enough. With 4 bases against 2 and an upgrade disadvantage, it doesn't seem like a fair fight, Piggy.
No, +2 armor starts up. Another Colossus being rebuilt. He's killed 2 Colossus so far this game, but the fact that there's always 2 or 3 Colossus left over with extended thermal lance +2 attack, it's such a force to be reckoned with. And now herO taking the 5th base on the right side. He's also got the rich gas getting unlocked, which is going to be nice for him to maybe even add Archons or just more sentries and stalkers in the mix as time goes on. So ByuN, he's kind of stuck on 1-1, 54 workers. He's going to float the main out. He's going to try to just keep making army, and he's kind of in this almost defensive all-in situation. Defensive all-in is one of the most desperate situations in StarCraft. I was going to say, you just got to wait for them to throw their army away and maybe get the perfect engage, but he knew he was in a really bad spot. ByuN's going to throw in the towel. It was really close, though, there. It could have gone either way, but herO holds in game 1. So confident, so solid. herO holds on. It's so funny because I normally don't think of herO with taking a Nexus while on the verge of dying, but I feel like MaxPax has kind of popularized this. I see Clem do it all the time now after MaxPax used to do it against him. Now herO's doing it. I'm down on 15 army supply against 50 army supply of Terran on the door. I need a 4th Nexus right now. And it's like, hey, dude, he believed in the power of the defensive Colossus. Once you get rid of those tanks, man, Colossus, Stutter Step, Zealot Stalker, Warpins, oh, it's a good defensive force.
Yeah, and I feel like herO is really good as well in giving the Terran the idea that they can still fight this army, but then they always run out of juice. It's just a little bit too little HP left on the Marines and Marauders, or most of the Marauders are kind of dead, and then they're left with a bunch of Marines, but the Marines cannot stim forward and try to gun down a Colossus, unless the Terran is like 4 upgrades ahead, but that obviously never happens. It's pretty cool to see herO do his thing, and it looks so stressful. It's like, you've got 22 army supply, and the guy is here. He's in your face. You guys are battling. And he's transferring probes to the 4th, and didn't even have any map presence forever on the other side of the map. I don't know, in his mind, maybe he thought that ByuN had just had a 3-Rex opening. And
right. Yeah, maybe didn't realize how committed it was. That makes sense.
Yeah, I think that's the case. I think in his mind, ByuN was just doing this of 3-Rex and was building a 3rd CC behind it. But no, absolutely not.
You know, that's so funny, right, Kev? Like, the worker transfer, I've been casting so much herO in the past few weeks, like, so many series every week. And one of my pet peeves has been he often doesn't transfer workers out of his main until, like, 14 minutes. Like, he's down to 4 mineral patches. The first 4 mineral patches are almost completely gone as well by the time he moves his probes. And I'm like, oh, man, if herO fixed this, he'd be so much, like, richer in every PvT he plays. And then recently, in the last week, he started transferring the probes a bit earlier, and he's doing it in the middle of almost dying when you would never expect someone to ever be thinking about transferring probes. And I'm like, okay, herO, he continues to evolve in 2025, you know? Some players at this point, they're very good still, they've got a good legacy, but it feels like they're sometimes going through the motions of the same builds they've been doing for a while, occasionally adding, you know, an old all-in or something, but it does feel like herO keeps reinventing himself, and I think that's part of why he's, you know, continuing to have such a long, over a decade-long career of winning championships.
Very different openings here. Last game, herO obviously going no probe scout into sentry first. ByuN going marine into no SCV scout. This time, ByuN did an SCV scout, but he is going to go multiple Reapers and Hellions, and ByuN should be able to take a decent start here. I wonder if herO is going to wall off immediately or get something among the likes of a wall off going. Because it is scary though. It's very, very scary to go up against a lot of Reapers and Hellions, especially if your adapts are in the middle of nowhere. This could be a really big start for ByuN if he micros this well, and we call him Micro Jackson for a reason. You can see that herO is also trying to figure out what should I do. Does kill one of the Reapers, gets a second Reaper. That's about as good as herO was ever going to do. And I guess herO now in the end is happy. Getting 2 Reapers there is good enough, especially with the Hellions already being somewhat low on HP.
Yeah, you can't really dive now as ByuN with those Hellions being so damaged, those 2 extra hits coming in. This is actually a solid wall in herO's brain, by the way, Roddy. I'm not sure if you knew about that. That's he's not sure. He's like, there might be one entrance. I'm not sure about... Oh, I can't believe it. They got in there.
Well, probes are lined up. They'll split off a couple of workers to battle. Adapt gets a shot off. Just barely not good enough to kill the Hellion, but now the Stalkers are done. We have a warp gate, so we can warp in additional units. Losing 3 probes there, that's actually a big win for ByuN. Didn't think he was still going to get 3 probes after losing those Reapers and the Hellions already being as low as HP as they were, and the shield battery coming online. That's as much as ByuN was going to get done there in the end.
2 Stalkers running forwards in this map. Cloaks on the way, Marines and tanks. Bunker and depots going down to try to get up the defense, but they're not ready just yet. Oh gosh. Gonna have to use the Banshee maybe to defend it as well. Bunker does at least finish. Kind of want to hide that Banshee. You really don't want to show that.
Exactly. Because it's so much more likely that this Banshee is going to be a successful Banshee if herO doesn't know that it's coming, because then there is a chance that even if he has 2 observers, that they will not be in the correct position. herO obviously did not have a hallucinated Phoenix or anything along those lines flying into the main base. At this point, it could really be anything. It could just be a Medevac, it could be a Raven, it could even be a Liberator. So hiding those Banshees is big, and I think the moment the bunker was done, there was really no need to reveal that Banshee.
Yeah, good call there. 3rd Nexus coming down, Observer. Forge goes down for herO as well. Just chilling, not going too crazy on the aggression with the Stalkers, and yet ByuN doesn't know that, so he's got to kind of respect it. Banshee comes in, cloaked early, but there's a battery in the natural, none in the main.
You should just go straight for the main. And I think herO barely missed that other Banshee, by the way, on the other side of the map. So this should actually do kind of well here for ByuN. ByuN should be able to close that worker deficit that he's currently in quite a bit. There are observers. herO is going to immediately recall one of these observers. I don't know if that was from the natural or all the way from the other side of the map. But even that's a win for ByuN, right? Because that was herO's permanent scout on that side of the map. Now herO has 3 observers, but all 3 of them are home, and he still lost 4 workers. Things are actually kind of looking up here a little bit for ByuN, if you ask me.
Yeah, 2nd Banshee coming in as well on the front. Going to look for the rally and maybe the workers at the base. I mean, you got 4 observers out as herO, and yet you still took a bit of damage, right? This is annoying. Your vision is at home. herO F2s a lot as well. So watch this observer. He's trying to move forward to get some scouting info. He might F2 that home. So far, staying pretty disciplined though. Shuts it down. Has he got units? Yeah, he's still got 4 Stalkers in the main with that observer. Goes over, checks that it's still on the edge, and he continues his scout going forwards. The question for us now, and it'll be for herO when the observer arrives, is where is the 3rd command center? Is it going to go down? Is it already started? We know this is once again a pretty committed 2-base aggressive style for ByuN. Yes, he could build it on location, but recently Clem's played very defensive versus herO, very turtly against him and max specs to a certain extent, often building his 3rd command center at like, what, 510, 520, 530 at the latest. This is going to be a 7-minute or later 3rd command center, which means ByuN's attack is going to have a lot of oomph behind it.
And then it once more is up to herO to find the right moment to jump on that army, and herO seems to be so incredibly good at it. Sometimes it even looks a little bit clumsy and things can look a tiny bit out of sync. The first 5 Stalkers are moving, towards the bottom left side. herO, I think, knows. Yeah, okay, he has to get up the high ground. Oh, but right when he blinks up the high ground, ByuN changes direction and goes via the low ground. hero's probably thinking like, come on, are you kidding me? All I want to do is get a couple shots off and slow this move out down. Does get a lot of shots off on the tank, not enough to kill it. Gets the Reaper, that's not very impactful. Doesn't want to fly that Observer into the scanning radius, and he won't. Zealous going down the ramp pick. Tanks are sieged up, Widowmines in the mix, but this kind of feels once more that herO has already done enough right.
I'd love to see those Zealots move around to flank here, coming in from that other side. He already did a good job of baiting an early stim. These Marauders going to take a while to heal up from these medevacs. Pylon goes down, one of the batteries does as well. Supply blocked his herO. But you know what helps you out of a supply block, Roddy? Attacking into your opponent, trading army aggressively here. The tanks go down. The Guardian Shield was excellent. And rather than chasing too far out of the Guardian Shield, he kind of gathers up his forces and then he ventures forwards one more time. ByuN caught out on the map. He wasn't expecting herO to chase him like this. herO getting amazing trades.
Yep, now herO is starting to run a little bit low on Zealot, so he decides to turn around. But the moment that this team wears off, there is a chance that herO just once more continues to battle. Colossus is out for herO, 12 worker lead, 3rd command center, not even halfway done for ByuN. herO just makes it all look so easy. There was a Banshee apparently killing 5 probes in total, so that helps a little, but I feel like we are past the point of 5 probes, really giving ByuN a lot to get very hopeful of. herO just forces out a stim, forces out another stim, and once he decides to fight pick, he really does fight, right? He commits to it, at least for a little while, until he gets what he wants. And in this case, that was take care of those Widowmines, take care of those tanks, and if the only thing that's left over is a little bit of Marine, Marauder, low on HP, I'm not that worried. We can fight, we can not fight, it doesn't really matter to herO. He just wants to get rid of those key units, and he keeps on finding those.
Indeed, I like the Zealot counterattack coming in as well. He says, you're going to push me. Guess what? These boys are ready. Going to go do the run by into the natural, finding the SCVs, going on the long distance mining to the 3rd. Always hard to micro against this stuff. Zealot's really good when you're really good when your opponent can't micro because there's other things happening. Bio getting shot by the Colossus. Widowmine's doing massive damage to the medevacs. The Guardian Shield, Colossus, Stalker, Zealot absolutely slaying ByuN on this bottom side.
Zealots are very bad against stuff like bunkers if they are well protected by maybe depots around it or a repair. Zealots can struggle with just SimCity, choke points, etc. But if you have a couple of Zealots bouncing between the natural and the 3rd, where it's wide open, where SCVs are exposed, Marines and Marauders are exposed, but there's also a big fight happening in the bottom right side, yeah, there really is no better unit than the Zealot. And even a world champ like ByuN cannot possibly micro in his natural, in his 3rd, and at the bottom right side at the same time. herO is looking like he's in an absolutely amazing position. I was about to say he might lose the Observer here, but that does not happen. It barely stays alive. I don't know what ByuN's supposed to do, man. Like, just buy time, get more Vikings, perhaps, but herO's already here. I don't think herO has thermal lens, by the way. No, he never got that. So now he's got 3 Colossus, no extended thermal lens. That is maybe one thing that could give ByuN a tiny bit of a lifeline, but I've seen Clam win games where he made 11 Colossus and no thermal lens, so I wouldn't get too excited, Piggy.
Yeah, I mean, it's an important upgrade, +2 range, and range upgrades, obviously some of the biggest in real-time strategy games. It's one of the most important statistics. Banshee finally goes down after finding 6 more probes. Bio dives forward, but dude, you know when they stutter step their Colossus into your Marauders, that things have gone bad.
Stalker count is really high, and there aren't that many Marauders left over. A single ghost with no energy. I think herO can just close it out here. Widow without extended thermal lens, it doesn't matter. Losing a couple of probes at home, it does not matter. herO will advance into the playoffs of the 5th edition of the Pig Festival, where he is going to play a best of 7 with Zaun.
Alright. What's up, ladies and gentlemen? It is the final deciding match of not just Group C, but also this is the chronologically where we played Group D yesterday. This is the final group of PiGFest. We're finding the final player who's going to be going into the playoffs, 2nd seed from this group. Will it be roGUE in the bottom right doing a 15-15 opening by the looks of it, or will it be ByuN in the bottom left? Shopify, Rebellion, Terran up against Famous, Zerg, both world champions in their own day. ByuN 2016, roGUE 2017. roGUE, of course, I think has continued to win GSLs for many years beyond ByuN, right? Where ByuN would still have periods where he'd do really well online and smash at those. But roGUE, when it comes to overall world-class achievements, has outclassed him. Despite that, I think they're very even head-to-head. I think ByuN, as a guy who will get in your face with the micro, make you defend against his frantic play, he really stresses out Rogue's mechanics and puts Rogue like into the firing line and really tests out just how good his fundamentals are.
And to echo on that, I think a lot of people will look at ByuN as the favorite for this series right here in 2025. Rogue definitely had a couple of very sexy ZVTs already, some that have been a lot of fun to watch. Even when he just came back, one of his very first series was against Oliveira, and he really looked good in some of those games. Of course, a lot of time has gone by at this point, and he looks even better. He is going to play against Lestau here. I kind of feel like historically that's perhaps not what he does his best work with, but 2025, new year, new Rogue apparently, pick.
Rogue is a master of not overcomplicating things, Kevin. I would not be surprised to see him do a Nidus 1-1 Roach all-in. I really think Rogue, things get intense and everyone overthinks it. Rogue keeps things simple. He says on this map, I wall off that top side with Roach War and Evo Chamber. I only need to defend one angle with Queens. Who needs Zergling speed if I only need to defend one position from Hellions? And then I just go for my super economy 66 drone 1-1 Roach. I attack the front with like 60 roaches, and I also Nidus right in the back of your main base. Good luck defending that Terran player. I think this is something that you know, just looking at it, that is what I would imagine. If Rogue wants to get super creative, could he do Swarm Host on this map? Yeah, if ByuN expanded north, but I don't think ByuN's going to expand north. I think he wants the gold base, he wants the forward base as well, and that's where 1-1 Roach can do really well.
Maybe even some Tropolord play backing up all of that as well, right? It doesn't have to be a Nidus. It can just be a lot of roaches with upgrades in the front. And then we drop a couple of roaches in the natural on the main base. We know Rogue still has excellent multitasking. I absolutely love the way that he moved his army around in that previous series against SKillous. In a weird way, it almost felt that Rogue was a tiny bit more comfortable on some of those newer maps like herO than SKillous was, which would really surprise me. Because I feel like historically Koreans have not been the kind of players who are like, oh, random new map, well, let me go ahead and play a whole bunch of games on it. But Rogue looked good, man. El Dorado is obviously one of the ladder maps, so both players should be incredibly familiar with it and very comfortable. I'm curious to see where it will go. So far, the economy of Rogue obviously big, but ByuN has also gone for a very quick triple CC. The Zerglings were in the natural. ByuN did not care about hiding it at all. Says, all right, I know what you're doing, and this is what I'm going to do, and I don't mind if you know.
Pretty quick lair here for Rogue. I think this is partially for scouting, partially just for defense in case there is, you know, some sort of form of early Banshee, something like that. Like Rogue, he doesn't have the full info. I guess he did see the second barracks actually earlier, didn't he, with the Overlord of the Zergling. So he should know that it's going to be just the 2-on-1 Marine attack. And that's, I guess, part of why he's starting such a fast carapace, right? 4 gas now. I think 66 drones is pretty greedy versus a 2-on-1, even a 3 command center version. I think, though, the medevacs have only just started, so dude, if Rogue can get to 66 drones without taking any damage and just mass Roach Ravage it, that's a scary start to deal with for ByuN.
I mean, Rogue had no fear. Man made 2 Zerglings early on, and after that, he just held down that drone button. He held down the Queen button. He's like, I don't think there's anything you can really do that is going to hurt me. I know where your Reaper is. I saw that you went triple CC. And obviously created a nice little, at least worker lead for himself. The 3 mules at a time are going to make up for it a little bit. But if I was Rogue, I'd be happy with this. Be like, man, I was proper greedy. This is not like, a couple units, couple drones, couple units, couple drones, and we eked out a little worker lead. Like, it was 2 links into nothing but drones forever.
Takes the watchtower and then immediately lifts to the north. Interesting decision to reposition over there. And he's going to move up on that north side, but his Marines were spread a little bit. The Roaches get out front. I think he was hoping to get positioned, so the Roaches had to funnel into the Marines through that wall off. And look at that, he feints to the south, changes direction, goes back up here. I think maybe he sees the 4th now with the Hellion. He should realize there's no hatchery to get sniped up here. It's all about the frontal fight with Infestation Pit, Ling Speed, Bane Nest. Rogue is going Omega Macro. It's about 20 Roaches, and behind this, he's going to swap into Ling Bane. He's going to stop building Roaches soon and tech to Hive.
There is another Overlord to be found there, though. So ByuN is starting to find a couple of Overlords. This wasn't all for nothing. First move, like 4 Overlords in total. I guess 1 on his side of the map, now 3 on this side. That's pretty solid. I mean, Rogue obviously getting his hands on the gold, firing up that Hive as well. +1 melee is on the way, +1 carapace. Zergling speed is close to finishing up. Eventually, I kind of feel like ByuN's going to need a little bit more than just an Overlord. But if we continue to kill them like this, as he gets another one, gets the Overseer as well, It's probably not what ByuN had in mind originally. Like, I'm going to fly to the other side of the map and I'm going to kill 5 overlords, but hey, if it presents itself, Pig, you may as well just take it.
Damage is damage, right? You got to be flexible, and that's exactly what ByuN's shown so far. The scary thing for me is that he's just now building his 4th and 5th barracks reactor. No sign of a second factory, 4th commands, and it just now starting. And it's like, in a normal game, this is decent. It just feels to me like Rogue is definitely a little ahead of the curve. I think the Vipers could be game-changing. Like, I just think it's going to be such... If he makes 2 Vipers the second this hive finishes, I think that's going to be brutally difficult for ByuN to deal with, because his army's pure Marine tank, and if your first 4 siege tanks all get abducted or blinding clouded and jumped on, it's pure Marine against a guy who's just got a massive Ravagerling Bane army.
A couple of Marines get dropped in the main base, gone down a Queen. Besides that, Rogue should not take too much damage here, and actually got a decent amount of the Marines already. Yeah, quick Vipers this time. Rogue is a matter of extremes. Either he delays the Vipers forever, or he goes into them rather quickly. And it wouldn't be the first time that ByuN finds himself in a spot as Spore Crawler's getting a lot of shots off. Not enough to kill the medevac, but that is going to soften it up. Will not be the first time that ByuN finds himself in a Marine Marauder tank scenario while going up against Vipers. I wouldn't even hate like a 3rd Viper here or something, because I feel that every single spell of the Viper is god tier in these situations. Whether it's the Blinding Cloud, an Abduct, or a Parasitic Bomb, I think all of it is very useful, Piggy.
It's a very one-directional angle with which Rogue is going to have to fight, so it's all about the Blinding Clouds, as you said, because otherwise the tanks are going to land good hits. He's going to go north. He's only got 2 Blinding Clouds available. Ravagerling Bane goes forward. First Blinding Cloud is good. Second one is excellent on both the Marines and the tanks. The Banelings chasing the Marines, and ByuN running home, tail between his legs. What an immense amount of Zerg coming across this battlefield.
So useful that Rogue still had a tiny bit of trick to work with there on the low ground, as ByuN did manage to show up one more time with those 6 Marines and a medevac in the main, but that got shut down as well. Rogue takes an absolutely phenomenal fight. That second Blinding Cloud, like you said, it was so good. It got the tanks and it got the Marines, made them dirt, made it impossible for them to fire, and the only thing that ByuN could do is run. But eventually those Banelings will always connect. Tiny bit of a miss rally as well during that battle, so a few more Marines died, a tank died. Rogue just takes an amazing fight here in game 1. Rogue's looking good here, Pick. I would love it, by the way, if Rogue could sneak some units to the top side right now of El Dorado and maybe pounce on those eBays. He's rich enough that he can absolutely get a little bit reckless to snipe those eBays. And imagine if he would have denied 2-2. That would have been mega.
ByuN's panicking as well right now. He's built a 5th command center and a 3rd factory. And now he's building bunkers, but he's not even building Marines. Like, his barracks were idle for a good 20 seconds. He queued up some Marines. Then there was a break. Now he's queued up a few more, but he's not fully utilizing these reactors. And that is a problem. I mean, don't get me wrong. If Rogue gives him another minute or so, it might work. But he's even accidentally rallied to the middle of the map. Yeah, ByuN looking a little shook from that last engagement. He definitely does not look happy with where this game's found itself. He accidentally built a Reaper as well, it looks like, was over there with the medevacs, loses a bunch of units, and he's going to find the one thing that is remaining stable in the chaos, and that is Overlord kills, man. That's going to bring him up to like 8 Overlords and an Overseer. No, that one he does leave alive on 1 hit point, but Rogue's got map control. Rogue's going to rotate to the natural. He's going to look for the bus there. Lings, oh, the door's open.
We don't even need to bus, mate.
That is huge.
We don't even need to boss. There's a couple of Lings are going to run into the natural. ByuN does have plenty of firepower here. Take care of it. So it's only 10 SCVs for now. The eBays are alive as they just fired up. +3 attack, +3 armor. Rogue has now moved his way back down to the bottom where he's going to try to connect with the SCVs. Banelings are not leading the charge, but Rogue does snipe a tank. And without Ghost, this situation is hell for the Terran.
And the Marine drop goes back for the Overlord in the north side of the map. South side push clears some creep. ByuN thinking about taking the gold base. He's got to be so careful with that, though. He's not maxed out. Rogue still got mineral bank. Not much gas bank for Rogue, but plenty of mineral bank to remax on Zerglings. The Roach Ravager. I mean, yes, you're always maxed, but there's a lot of roaches in there, which I almost wish Rogue would just send around to, like, harass the gold and attack the natural and sacrifice themselves, because they are kind of getting the rest of the army stuck. But he's trading so well, keeping it efficient trading versus a Terran. Not something you can usually do. And he's got Ultra Baneling ready to bust the natural wall while denying this base at the same time. ByuN, of course, trying to slow things down. And Rogue, his job is just keep expanding, keep transferring workers, and keep smashing in from multiple angles. It's going to be so hard for him to deal with.
That Ultra came so early, but here are the Lings, here are the Banelings. Will we blow up an eBay? Nope, he's just going to go for units once more SCVs. The problem is he's already killed most of the SCVs in the natural. Honestly, I think clicking on the E-base that would have been slightly better, but he's also finding some liberators, he's finding some tanks. ByuN does have triple tank production. The problem is we still have no goals. I feel like we're just going to continue losing them. It's almost like ByuN hopes that the Rogue forgets about the fact that, you know, Vipers are very good against Terran armies that don't have any ghosts in them. It's like, if he stops making ghosts and he doesn't abduct my tanks or doesn't drop any blinding clouds, eventually this is going to work out for me. Turns out Rogue did not forget that Vipers are very good.
Even just Marines might be helpful. There's just nothing to clear Zerglings in these armies. Yes, it is mostly Ultra Ravagers, so Marauders, Tanks, Libs are important. Planetary, oh, it gets busted. The Banelings plus the Ravagers. The Ultras starting to fall on the southern flank, but he's cleared 27 workers. Tanks struggling to clear that Ultralisk. It does finally go down. ByuN, he's hanging on, but barely. 55 workers against 80 of Rogue. Let's check Rogue's income. Still 3,500 minerals. As long as Rogue keeps transferring these workers, expanding along the top side, he should be able to remax, you know, pretty quickly. He's a little low on lava right now. He's got 13 lava, a bit of minerals, no gas in the bank. If he can deny this base, it's lights out for ByuN. ByuN, he's only got a handful of Marauders to guard these tanks. It is not enough. And the Ultras and Ravagers clear all of ByuN's artillery. And that should pretty much be the finishing blow here. ByuN, he's just got nothing left.
Nope, no planetary here anymore. No bunkers either to really fall back to. The final Marines and Marauders are battling their heart out. He does have +3 attack, +3 armor on them. The Vipers are going to show up as well. They're going to drop a couple parasitic bombs. ByuN is very quick to react. Nice micro by ByuN, but ByuN needs that base. It's so freaking bad. And I just don't see any universe where he can very casually stabilize there. Get it going. Look at them Lings go. +3 armor on the Lings, +2 melee. Adreno Glance, of course, is researched this time. ByuN needs the base pick. Without the base, there really is no light at the end of this tunnel.
Indeed. ByuN down 30 supply. It is partially workers, partially army supply. He's going to retake this gold base. Cute. Oh yeah, breaking the rocks, a very cute idea. These are rock towers, guys. And by breaking that, it does collapse the destructible debris. These rocks here, 2,000 hit points, 3 armor, very hard to break through that. Lingbane Ultra, gonna go forwards on the north into the initial gold base, which has already been destroyed. Marine Marauder tank trying to defend, blinding clouds and parasitic bombs, a beautiful combo. The tank count has been utterly insane. I mean, he does break the tower to at least defend the gold base temporarily, but that leaves the third out on its own. The SCVs, the Marauders trying to cower behind the refinery. The Ultras struggle to get down there, so maybe hiding behind the buildings can work.
Rogue just has the funniest spine crawler positioning. Yeah, that is very good positioning, but I think we all know that ByuN can't really keep this up. And ByuN desperately needs to just get a better army. He needs a different composition and a couple of Marines, Marauders, and tanks to deal with all these Ultras and Vipers. I just love whenever Rogue builds a spine, man. I feel like this is the most random moment where he's like, you know what? I've been attacking. There's been non-stop battling at the bottom side of El Dorado for half an hour, but time for a cheeky spine. He's so ready for Liberators, I guess, and Hellions to go by everywhere. But there is nothing. Everything that ByuN has is over here at the bottom. The 2 Vipers that Rogue made a long time ago are still doing their thing. These barrel bombs are massive. The Lings are so powerful. Not a single Widowmine in sight. And this is really all Rogue. ByuN simply can no longer keep this up.
Yeah, I think this game all comes back to the lacking Marine production earlier. I think you've got to keep maxing on Marines early on. Sometimes Terrans realize, uh-oh, my opponent's ahead. I got to get tanks, double upgrades, armory, 5th command center, bunkers, you know, 6th command center, triple bloody armory, all this weird stuff, 3rd factory. Sometimes just keeping up the Marine production earlier, I think, was a little more important. And because he didn't quite have enough units when those first big attacks rolled over him, it was very devastating from that point on. I mean, obviously, the first Blinding Cloud engage, I mean, the Viper jump scare was real. It was just such a sick macro opening, and I don't think ByuN fully realized how far ahead Rogue was until after those Vipers crushed that first big push.
The tiny bit of creep at the bottom near that zone like a watchtower really helped Rogue there as well. That just gave him slightly more info that allowed him to take an even better fight. As the final Lings and Ultras are going to try to finally get ByuN out of this game. Rogue even has a Spire at this point, so he can make a couple of Corruptors as well to start working on those Liberators. Kudos to Rogue, man. 16 minutes and 44 seconds. He takes the 1-0 lead, and sometimes we are a bit critical of the spellcaster control, the spellcaster usage of some of the Korean Zergs out there. He made 2 Vipers pick, never lost them. Those were the same 2 Vipers that helped him crush that first move out of ByuN. He got a lot of value from them. He kept dropping Blinding Clouds, Para Bombs. Didn't see too many abducts, but maybe there was one in there. 2 Vipers, and that's all he needed. Not a single ghost inside. Rogue was loving life.
Yeah, excellent game one for Rogue. He went very greedy. I wouldn't be surprised for him to lean back a bit and just say, let's play a bit more standard. Go for Lingbane Hydra or something like that in map 2. ByuN's the player who is more on notice saying, oh gosh, if he plays that greedy, I've got to punish it, or I've got to play super greedy myself in the next game. And just be a bit more aware of what's going on, because even though, yeah, Rogue had an advantage, if you don't push out at the time ByuN did with the Marine tank, you stay sieged up in a more defensible position where it's much harder for him to blinding cloud you, then, you know, you can defend and get back into the late game. But that's, of course, about the information. It's if you don't, if your opponent's being greedy, gotten away with it, and you don't even realize, you step into the trap. The blinding clouds are excellent, and those early Vipers, such a game changer.
Yeah, and then obviously if you stay at home, then you don't have to worry about extra units still being rallied towards the center. Those units getting picked off as well. It would have been very different. If ByuN is not there in the center, but he's more near his planetary, then I don't think 2 Vipers have that much impact. They'll still be very useful, but then there is a chance that Rogue has to settle for an abduct or a blinding cloud on an individual tank, rather than getting 2 tanks and the bio with a single blinding cloud. I understand that ByuN felt safe near the Zellnaga Watchtower, but yeah, that was a trap. That was his downfall in the end, especially because there was still a bit of creep to work with as well. Baneling's almost using that as a launching pad to get a tiny speed boost to still connect with the bio, and then the SCVs on top with it. Let's see what Leylines will bring us. It is Tournament Live on the line for ByuN. He's going to have to step it up. In my eyes, he was the favorite coming into this best of 3, so I'm really curious to see if he can turn things around.
Yeah, it's really cool to see. I mean, these two always have good matches. I do think if it gets like real close mechanical multitasking war, I favor ByuN over Rogue, because I think, you know, it's hard to match ByuN for anyone, but especially historically, Rogue has faltered when it comes down to just raw multitasking against a micro god like ByuN. But getting it there, not easy against a strategy god, a 300 IQ Zerg player. 3rd hatchery's down, Ling speed's on the way. And also very conservative Overlord placement for Rogue, but it'll give him good vision of like most of the Hellions and whatnot moving through the middle of the map.
We have a 3rd command center being built in the main base. The factory is incredibly eager to connect with that reactor, and we can start getting our first Hellions out. Bonnie has been the one Terran in this tournament that was all about YOLOing those Hellions. Most of the other Terrans out there are a bit more conservative. ByuN, I wouldn't say is as safe as someone like herO, who's really about keeping them alive for as long as possible, or Maru, that we also saw play some TVZ, where it's all about just pushing back the creep. I feel like ByuN is very active. He will poke, and if he feels that it's the right moment to send it, he does not shy away from it. He's okay with giving up some of that map control and map presence if he thinks he can get the damage done. Not always, but you know, that's what makes it hard as well to play against a man like ByuN, where he is capable of switching it up and just reacting to what presents itself in the game.
What's ByuN doing with his money right now? His build order is really weird. He's lifting off the reactor, but he hasn't started a 2nd barracks. Kev, this build, what is this? Single engineering bay, 2nd barracks only now goes to, what? 3 barracks. Double E, but okay, he's going to do a 8-Rax 1-1, I think, and he just wants to have a crazy Marine count, but it's weird that he didn't just build a 2nd barracks early. Odd build for ByuN. Maybe someone in the chat, expert Terran player, knows this build order. For me, it looks like he's making something up on the fly.
Rogue's going to drop a Roach one, by the way. That's rather early, and I feel like, if anything, that should be good news for ByuN. If he's going to get a crazy amount of well-upgraded bio early on, he's going to be able to get his hands on a big upgrade lead. I mean, it's just a 4 Hellion opening, so that's obviously on the lower side of things as well. I kind of like it. If he feels that all he needs is just a crazy amount of firepower, he doesn't want to invest in more Hellions, doesn't want to invest in a couple of Banshees that won't do a whole lot. Maybe this is just his game plan. Try to get an immense amount of bio as quickly as possible. And if he has that, a couple medevacs, couple full squads with good upgrades, he feels confident that he can just start finding way better trades than he did last game. And Rogue, right now, building triple spore.
Yeah, I mean, he knows Hellions, but he doesn't know anything else that's happening. So he's like, well, Libs or Banshees could arrive soon, so I better build the spores. And that, of course, is a wasted investment. This is actually just the old school 3cc. chat's pointed out. And I'm like, yeah, it looks like how people played 3CC 7 years ago. Like 2018, if you did a 3 command center build when it was a much more rare build, it was considered dangerous, right? Because, you know, you at the time, people weren't able to defend as many cheeses off of it. You would just go for second and third barracks while making stim on the first one. You'd go to double upgrades, and then you'd do this kind of 3 barracks marine stim push out. And it hits a lot later than the 2-on-1 from the last game, but as you can see, the production has been prioritized. The 4th and 5th barracks is down earlier. The upgrade's looking good. He should start an armory soon, should be on, so that he can hit that beautiful 2-2 timing that his whole build really seems like it's tailored around.
Mm-hmm. Rogue making a decent amount of roaches though, and he's getting +1 missile, he's getting carapace, infestation pit, couple lings are poking in the third, but ByuN has plenty of marines here to deal with it. I don't hate it for ByuN. I really don't hate it, because I do feel that its army is going to be strong. That armory that you mentioned, yeah, definitely should have been on the production tab, because Rogue now fires up the hive. And a Hydralist then, there comes the armory, but they're still going to be like the wasted 20-30 seconds, right? Bit of a shame. That could have flowed a tiny bit better. ByuN also supply block for a very brief moment here, but all of these things do add up against the Rogue that's already on 4 bases and has a minor work elite. 14 extra roaches. That's so many roaches on the side of Rogue.
He's playing pure roach into hive, right? He's gonna go. He should be going hive soon. We're expecting roach, hydra, viper, lurker, right? But the hive is not there. The infestation pit hasn't been used. There's tech labs, by the way. ByuN is going tech labs, man. He's going marauders. So like he knows this is a roach, hydra, lurker style. I'm pretty sure. Otherwise, it's crazy to go 3 tech labs this early. But he's also not started 2-2 because of that delayed armory we talked about. Rogue seems to just be massing Roach Ravager, but I don't think... Can he actually break him? There's only 1 tank. Tank production so late for ByuN. Dude, this is a weird situation. I think the players may be playing mind games with each other a little bit, and both sides may be waiting for the other one to make a mistake.
ByuN throws down a scanner right now in the main base. He sees the lair. I could swear that Rogue had hive on the production tab for a split second. He must have just cancelled it. And he's just going to max out. Everything that you were talking about on El Dorado is what we are going to see over here on ley lines. But then I wonder, don't you need something else other than just pure 1-1 Roach Ravager Ling? Apparently, if you're asking Rogue right now, he would say, nope, this is actually all I need. And the tank count, it's 2. So if one of these tanks does get picked off quickly, I mean, Bio is great against roaches, but in these numbers, if Bio does not have superior upgrades, as Hive gets fired up once more, I'm definitely a bit concerned for ByuN, because there is just so much Zerg out there. There's so much Zerg that is ready to send it. If Rogue takes a big victory here, he will advance into the playoffs.
The SCV pull is perfect, though, for ByuN, shielding the tanks from the Ravager Biles. The SCV is chasing too far on the left. He pulls those back. The Bio chasing into this is unnecessary, but it is effective. He could have played it conservatively, ByuN, and chilled back with the tanks, but he sensed that he had the numbers advantage. He dives on top, and he stomps that. Rogue, this is how Rogue's been playing recently. Lots of mind games. Pretend to go hive, cancel it. Don't use the Hydra Den or the Infestation Pit or the 4th base gases and the 70 drones, and then go for the big surprise Roach Ravager attack. Problem is, in the modern age, players are so good with their basic efficiency, even if they don't see it coming to the last second, their focus on efficiency is often going to beat mind games if you spend too long dilly-dallying on your way to the push. Marine Marauder Siege tanks coming forward. Roach Ravager is going to dive on top. The Biles mostly being dodged. I don't think ByuN needed to push right now, but he's going to get massive damage. The tanks are just not getting Bile down at all.
One of them will finally maybe go down towards the tail end of this fight. Queen's doing their thing, but it is ByuN instead after 9 minutes and 10 seconds who just takes a decisive victory. That was definitely a bit of a confusing game, and it felt that maybe there was potential for Rogue in that attack. It was just all over the place. Like, he really had 6 minutes and 30 seconds. Rogue had Hive on the way and a Hydralist then. But then he scouted with his Overseer, and maybe he said, you know what, there is a lack of tanks here. I should just send it. He cancels the gas, he cancels the Hive, he cancels the Hydra then, and he decides to just max out and click it. Well, ByuN had a lot of bio, and it turns out if you have that much bio and the SCV pool that you pointed out, it wasn't quote-unquote easy hold.
All right. It's all going to be decided here. Will we get another Zerg player in Rogue joining the top 8 players in the playoffs, or will we get a second Terran player? The winner of this match does get the grand prize of playing Clem in those playoffs, but you know what? It's a terribly difficult playoffs no matter where you get put, so both players still wanting the right to get their big jump in prize money and, of course, the chances to get into that top 4 and beyond. ByuN in the top right of herO, Rogue in the bottom left, and I would have loved to see how that would have played out if Rogue didn't scout the lack of tanks and change his plan. I wonder what would have happened, because it was like early Marauder-heavy Terran versus what was looking like a Lurker, Viper, Roach, Hydra style. And that's so funny, because we don't see much of that Zerg versus Terran, and it really changes the whole dynamic. It would have been cool to see how that played out.
Yeah, if he actually lets that Hive finish up, the one that he started at 6 minutes and 30 seconds into the game, there's a good chance that he will get those Hive Tech units out early, or at bare minimum, get a couple Vipers, get some energy, have an answer for those tanks. And Bio is very good against Roaches and Ravages, but on creep, and especially if you lose your tank support, it starts becoming a bit more difficult. Every time you stim as a Terran, the Zerg will probably disengage for a little bit, drop a couple of corrosive balls, then you need to micro against those, and then by the time you're ready to fight, you're forced to stim again. That's something you can do twice, maybe 3 times, but not more. If you have that many bio units, that just drains the medevac energy so incredibly quick. And unless you have like 8 to 10 medevacs, you can't even heal up that army that quickly again. So would have been curious, perhaps pick, if you have a board, you can just resume that one from replay. You play against a Terran that is around your level, and you have an answer to your questions.
Ah, that's a good idea, mate. I do enjoy it. It kind of becomes like TVT when you've got Lurkers and Vipers, kind of, the siege units up against the Terran siege tank bio. You're like, oh, we both have Defenders siege units, Defenders advantage, high damage siege units. But hey, this game is going to be a command center first into 2 barracks for ByuN, pulling a worker off gas hero there and just slowly rallying them in. It's a very economic opening, and it's going to, supercharge his economy. Bunny obviously used to love doing command center first into 2 base all-ins for a long time. ByuN, honestly, when he's doing the best in this matchup, pretty much every series he mixes in a 2 base marine tank push. It doesn't always have to be completely all in, but he will look for momentum, make the game as chaotic and messy as possible, and see what he can do. And he hasn't been doing it as much recently, but I feel like, you've got so many big tournament victories from that sort of strategy. For now, though, big disruption from these couple of Zerglings.
Yep, Rogue once more with a gasless style. And I guess if you have a gasless opening, scouting as your opponent when command center first is kind of cool. You're like, okay, I don't really have to worry about Reapers and Hellions being annoying very on. I don't have to worry about a very early Banshee. So Rogue can just crank out as many drones as he could dream of, just like he did on El Dorado. But the biggest difference is he's not going to get his hands on a 4th base here. And of course, ByuN's opening is a little bit different as well. ByuN has quicker stim. ByuN could even do some sort of a weird move out that normally doesn't make any sense. And ByuN hasn't scouted yet. But if ByuN feels very, very, very strongly about the possibility of Rogue having a gasless opening for quite some time, it wouldn't even be the worst thing ever to walk to the other side of the map with 10, 12 Marines even before your medevacs. These are very hard calls to make. But we don't know how much prep these guys have done. We don't know how much ByuN knows about the way that Rogue is currently playing ZVT, especially not on a map like herO.
Yeah. Well, we are going to be seeing the nice quick 2-on-1 off 3cc. And I'll tell you what, it hits hard, man. You know what my favorite build was when people started doing this again on the last season's map pool? I guided a 2-on-1 off a CC first. And then he hit me with a friggin' the TY build or whatever is the double port battle cruiser, and it's like off a CC first. I was like, what? I was like, dude, that's such a dirty build. And it's so sick because I hadn't seen it in such a long time. TY did that to snipe Serral years ago in the Casters Civil War. But you can hit it so early off a command center first. And in general, I don't think ByuN's going to do that. He just goes 3rd command center. And it's like, yeah, okay, it's 4.5 minutes. It's a bit delayed. But you have the mixture of you've got Marines microing in your opponent's face. You can still macro behind it. I love that for ByuN. On the other hand, Rogue has just made this 15-15 build look so natural. I mean, it's good to see him updating his builds and studying. One of the biggest problems I've had with a lot of players coming back from the military or big breaks in recent years is them doing old, antiquated builds, not copying the Serrals and stuff who are leading the matchups. But Rogue, he's really changing up his style week to week. He's showing old builds, new builds, big mix-ups. And does he have enough roaches ready? This drop's coming in. He's only got 5 roaches. But it looks like ByuN maybe unloads a bit too early here. Could have gone into that main base, I feel. But I guess Spore Crawlers are coming in.
Yeah, there was a sport that was done and another sport was on the way. And I think the biggest problem for ByuN is like unloading all these units takes a little while. And if herO can just get a couple of roaches within range, he's already fine. If all the Marines were able to unload in the main base and then stim in, yeah, then herO would have been in trouble. But now every second that goes by is obviously decent for herO. And herO even feels so confident. He says, all right, I've made my units, they're out. I can keep track of these two medevacs. I'm going back into droning immediately.
And a quick infestation, so he wants to go for that fast hive. I wouldn't be surprised to see melee go up, just like in game 1, right? You know, get about 20 roaches and ravagers to defend, but then just play Ravagerling Bane. Don't waste time on range upgrades, because it is going to be melee that wins you the game. But hold that. No, he goes for range this time. That's fine. You can still go into melee afterwards. It is the carapace that's, of course, the more important upgrade. ByuN going tank medevac behind. And people were wondering in the chat, did he forget combat shields? No, you always want to start your 1-1, your tank production, your add-ons. Combat shields you really don't need until you're in a pitched battle. With a 2-1-1, this double drop, your Marines are never really meant to be getting hit. You're meant to just shoot and scoot and shoot and scoot, run around, never actually stand and fight. Because you don't want to trade unless you're getting like 3 drone kills for every Marine. Because the moment you give up the medevacs in these Marines, Zerg will just cover the map in creep. He'll drone to 85 workers. Like, you've kind of got to stay active here. And even staying active, I'm not sure if he's been active enough. He might be over-respecting Rogue. Rogue's on 80 workers right now, almost. He's got a hive halfway done. This is a great setup for Rogue.
Yep, and even if you start Combat Shield immediately, the moment that stim is done, it's not like you're going to get value out of it, right, with these 2 medevacs, because it's going to take a little while before Combat Shield is done. Maybe if he started a bit quicker, it'd be done right about now, but it's like, well, he still can't fight. That's a few too many roaches and ravagers at this point, so made sense that he prioritized other things early, as long as he doesn't forget it, because of course you do eventually need to get it. Rogue is going to be working with a hive 7 minutes and 30 seconds into the game after a gasless opening. Lurk then halfway done. Zergling speed is about to finish up at the same time as hive is finishing up. I am definitely concerned for ByuN. I'd love to see double Viper again from Rogue, and hopefully for Rogue he can do as good of a job with it as he did in game 1. Because making 2 Vipers and never ever losing them, you can say if there's no Ghosts or Vikings, he's not supposed to lose them. Well, it's still easy, right? How many times have we seen world-class Zerg players kind of forget about a Viper out there, and it gets picked off by a couple of Marines, or it goes in a little bit too deep to land the sweet Blinding Cloud. He made 2 Vipers, and he never lost them for like 9-10 minutes of the game. That was excellent. Let's see if he can repeat that performance.
Big push down the south. It's once again a scary time. If you can snipe the base and run away, I think it's okay for ByuN, but otherwise it's like, dude, the Vipers are out. They're about to start gathering energy, and they're going to have Blinding Clouds in a few seconds, so you're gift wrapping an army just like in game 1. But he does catch the Lurker Morph. That's a nice start. Is he YOLOing?
I mean, I don't think he can go mega deep, even though he's going really damn deep. The tank's going to siege up as well. Vipers are currently trying to get enough energy, but even without the Vipers,
my lord,
should be fine. He's going to pull the drones for a split second, man. I love that call pick. I love that call. There really aren't that many Marines left. Rogue is going to hold, even without getting any energy on the Vipers. He does lose the Evolution Chamber with +2 carapace. That was 70 or 80% done. That one does hurt.
That was still a good hold for Rogue, and I love what you said about pulling the drones. It was really smart against just Marauder tank. However, ByuN is making the game messy. If he can get a bit of chaos, this is where I was saying earlier, I do think he's favored versus Rogue in a super chaotic game. If he can just make it messy enough, even though Rogue has the numbers, it's Vipers, Lurkers are trying to morph, Marines keep redropping, the Giga Chad Spore shuts down the drop on the left side. No, it gets sniped actually, the Marine Medevac's still alive over there. The Marine Marauder on the right side, only 1 tank behind it, and it looks like it gets shut down now. Double parasitic bomb. ByuN needs to leave. He needs to back off. Go back to his 2-2 upgrade advantage against 1-1, his 4th command center, his 8 barracks. He's going to build 2 command centers. Holy miss macro. He's not building Marines. It's the exact same mistake he made in game 1. Where
he's just going to try to dig in his heels right now. He knows that he got a little bit crazy there. He got a tiny bit carried away. Maybe got very excited after he saw all those Hydras try to morph into Lurkers. He canceled all of them. Then you also see on the tail end of, or on the left side of your screen, you see that the Vipers are not ready yet. He's like, this is it. I'm hitting the sickest timing. But Rogue actually had a lot of roaches.
He's not making army though. This is huge, dude. He's throwing this game. If he doesn't make army, he's making another command center. This is insane. Like, I'm sorry to cut you off there, Kev, but this is like ByuN is just not using his barracks. Game 1 and game 3. If he doesn't start building units, he's gonna die. I know he wants to max on better quality units, but if Rogue goes for a timing, it's a huge problem. Like, you can't just be idling your barracks like this. This is insanely risky. Then again, Rogue's not attacking. I don't know. I could be wrong. Maybe he's going to get away with it. It seems like such an insane gamble.
I think he will get away with it for a little bit because Rogue obviously lost some drones, has tried to rebuild those drones, and is now investing in Vipers and more lurkers, etc. But on top of that, Rogue just defended while being economically ahead. So there isn't really any reason for Rogue to then immediately grab a mediocre army that does very well on creep, but way less off creep to the other side of the map. Rogue couldn't possibly know that ByuN did not have a new squad of Marines and Marauders ready to battle immediately in a couple of tanks. So I think ByuN will get away with it, but it also makes sense to me that Rogue is not immediately throwing the lead that he has created for himself. As long as he eventually, once he's got some of these extra upgrades online right now, then he should start battling again, right? Because that Ghost Gun is going to come up, but there we have the Nidus networks. He's probably just waiting for adaptive talents, and then he's willing to battle again, Piggy.
I mean, I think you're kind of right, but then also it's like the lurker timing just disappeared because you know a Terran just threw his entire army at you, threw away every single siege tank. I do think there's a big missed opportunity to just go win the game because what's a handful? Even if he's pumping Marine Marauder, lurkers don't really have an answer after every tank's been thrown away. So I don't know. I'm going to be a little critical of both sides there. I think Rogue could have won the game. I think ByuN was playing greedy, but he gets away with it. And sometimes gambles pay off. That is what StarCraft is about. You know, there is a big poker element in this game mixed in with the mechanics and everything else. So it's going to be something where Rogue now is going to play a very mixed style. And this is the problem with this style, is that you're kind of going Ling Bane, but you're still on Roach Hydra Lurker, so it's a bit of an awkward comp for a little bit, and he's also butting up against his supply cap. Now, don't get me wrong, gets the Niduses in the back door. What doesn't matter? Crushes the game. Classic winning move that Rogue would be looking for. But Rogue, ever since he started doing this mass overseer spamming Changeling meta, I noticed that he always would slow the game down, and that's good if your opponent doesn't have an answer to the Changelings. But ByuN's played a lot against this. We'll see if he can keep it together in an intense moment because he wants to be in those playoffs. We know ByuN is a nervy player. He sometimes plays better because of it. Sometimes he falls apart under pressure. And there is a lot of pressure when you're dealing with Changelings constantly coming in that are just going to test your attention. You have to keep clicking on these over and over.
22 overlords on the production tab.
Oh,
yeah, Rogue really
Lord.
loves his mass overseer strategy. And it's really cool if it works out as he fires over the Reno Glens as well. But if you make an attack like that, he ended up losing 22 additional overseers, and you don't get what you were looking for. You're really starting to hate life, because I've seen a couple of games, I think even between these two specifically, where at one point Rogue had a big bank, but then he just lost all his money, while the Terran just got richer and richer every single time that he attacked. Yeah, he just had no money at all to remax. 31 overseers on the production tab. Big, I've been casting Starcraft for 15 years. I don't think I've ever seen 31 overseers at once on the production tab in a serious match. But even in an unserious match, I don't think I've seen him do it. And I know he has done it. Don't get me wrong. I'm familiar with it. I've seen Rogue do it before. He is a believer. But it's just, it feels surreal to see 31 overseers on the production tab.
It's crazy, man. I don't think I've seen 31 at once either. That is insane. We've seen him go up to like 50 before, but it's usually over the course of many minutes. If Rogue is just like, I will spam Changelings at you. Good luck clicking on all of these. ByuN has been trying to click on them, but they're in the main base. He's leaving a tank and a ghost in his main to deal with the Nidus Worms. The whole idea with this, guys, is that basically Rogue sees everything, but also he can spot for Nidus Worms and start throwing them down everywhere. And you can see one in the natural as well as one up the top side as well. ByuN seems to have noticed it. I know that Clem, his answer to this is Liberators. He builds libs and leaves a few around, so if lurkers pop out, he just sieges on them with lib range, and he feels like that deals with it really well. It's not worth popping units out of the Nidus Worm. But ByuN has the opposite approach where he says, don't let it get up, don't let it get up, don't let him unload. And that means if he misses one, it could be very problematic. I definitely think this is an odd game. I do think Rogue maybe gave up an opportunity to finish the game earlier, but you know what? Now we get locked into an effort where you've invested, how many is it? 37 overseers. That's an extra 50 minerals and 50 gas for each. Not to mention he's built 20 more overlords, 22 than he needed, right, to be maxed out on supply. 2,200 minerals plus another 1,100, 3,300 minerals. About and
good luck with this one, Pig. You lost me at 37 times 50.
Chat, do the math. 20 overlords, 22 overlords, 2,200 minerals plus 37. Which is 1850 minerals, 1850 gas. We've got to do it.
It was a big investment, mate. Come on. Why would you do this to yourself?
I need the measurements. I need to know the girth of the investment, the girth and the length, okay, Rotterdam?
All right. We do have a... Wow, somehow I was about to say he might be able to land a snipe, but it's so incredibly hard to gun down those Vipers. If there are so many Overseers flying on top of those Vipers, that's obviously another strength of this strategy for rogue. And even if EMPs land, well, you might EMP 10 Overseers, but there's no guarantee that you're also EMPing the Viper that is hiding somewhere in the middle of all of these Overseers. It's just... It's funny, it's awkward, and it's definitely very annoying to play against it, but I definitely agree with you at the point that Rogue missed some opportunities. I don't know if, like, after that hold, he should have immediately sent it, because I think that's a very difficult call for him to make, and he could throw away a lead. But to let the game go this passive and basically not even slow ByuN down in taking any additional bases, while he was ahead in tech, while he was ahead in economy, I definitely do think that that's been a real missed opportunity, because he had all the info to do something about it, but he's showing a lot of respect to the early Ghost.
Sorry, already out. I think our call's going to run out in a sec, so I'm just going to hang up on that and call you on Discord, okay? Sorry to do this in the middle of the game, but it looks like our thing's screwing up. Call you there now.
Okay.
Alright guys, we're gonna call him in a sec because there is a fight. I'll make sure we don't do that. Sorry, there is a... I just realized our backup audio since Discord was dying is actually on Zoom and it's gonna cut us off. Not a good choice of application to use. We will do it in just a sec. Alright, sorry about that guys. That's my fault. ByuN did take advantage of a P break though, so if he does win this game and gets through, it's because of us. It's purely because we gave him that P break, you know, let him restore his energy. No, just kidding. I think in this sort of game, it shouldn't change too much. It might a little bit, of course, you know, give the player a break for a second, but still very intense. And there's going to be so much going on in this game. We've got the lurkers on the north side, Ling's breaking the rocks, and Rogue is so patient. And I always feel like going to this stage of the game, Zerg should be disadvantaged in the super long run. And then I see Rogue win so many games. Like, if he's playing Maru at this stage, I think Maru knows exactly what to do. I think Clem also might know exactly what to do. Any other Terran in the world, I might favor Rogue just because he so happily embraces this situation. Part of, I think, why Zergs tend to do so badly in these situations is we feel like we're on a timer, and we get impatient, we throw our forces away, right? Because we sometimes get overeager, but look at this. Here we go, Vipers in the south. Blinding Clouds, he double Blinding Clouds the same tank. Slight misclick there for... him. Gets one tank, but a bunch of units getting sniped. Northern side, though, Lurker, Ling push. No support for the tanks.
Nah, that's really big by Rogue. Excellent job there. I mean, yes, this is the late game, but ByuN is not in his ultimate sweet spot yet. He's working on advanced ballistics. He would, of course, love to have a couple Liberators as well, but with the way that this game started off, ByuN is simply not there yet. It's already amazing that ByuN is in a more than playable position, that he's got 120 army supply. He can dream, but he's not ultimately set up yet in the way that he would love to be set up. And Rogue is realizing that, and Rogue is starting to find openings with these lurkers.
He is, but he's really on a timer. As much as I was just kind of saying he doesn't play like he's on a timer, that might actually be a big mistake and why this style on paper is weak. Because if ByuN doesn't crumble under the pressure of you making him click on all these changelings, I mean, he's really trying to break ByuN's inflamed wrists right now. You know, look at the units lost. 7,000 resource lost advantage for ByuN. ByuN has 10 orbitals, which means he's got way better mining. But, oh, he lets his guard down for a moment. The tank, it has to unsiege. Oh, he's got a planetary in the back of his main. What?
That's funny. You know, I'd love to see Rogue do put a couple of changelings on hold position at the ramp. I always think back of our good friend Katz, who did that a long time ago, and I feel like you can do some really funny stuff with that. And it's annoying as a Terran or a Protoss to always be looking at that, because at this point you're looking at your 5th or 6th base or triangle or somewhere in your main. You're not going to look at, are my units successfully rallying out of a barracks or a factory? So I think that'd be kind of cool. If we have 46 Overseers pick, we may as well try to annoy our opponent a little bit with a couple changelings on hold position.
Yeah, 100%. No, that's one of the things we've seen games where sometimes he does that, and if he can get that off, that'd be very annoying. Dude, the planetary in the back, honestly, like I've never seen that even in a Florencio game. Like Florencio will build a bunker in the back of his base while trolling in Diamond League, but yeah, you don't expect a world champion versus world champion caliber match, you know, to end up with a planetary in the back of the main. But ByuN and Rogue are showing us different things today, and I think, you know what? You spend 400 on the command center, 150 on the upgrade. When your opponent's committing this much to this changeling onslaught, it's probably worth it. He two-shots the command center.
It's so annoying. And Rogue is actually applying a lot of pressure as well. And now we do have the depot raised. Be honest, like, you know what? I'm done dealing with Nidus worms. I'm just going to keep them out. But that obviously means that their new units won't go down either. Rogue is eventually going to have to kill some of these Liberators, though, and maybe kill a couple of Gulls. He hasn't done any of that. He's going to try to get on top of the Planetary in the bottom. Does he have enough Banelings here, Piggy?
Oh, Planetary goes down. That's a good snipe. Then again, don't know if it's the end of the world for ByuN. He's got big bank. It's more about the distraction. I truly do feel it's taking out the production, which will make ByuN panic. Maybe F2 his army, and potentially that's where you could get him. But look at this. He's given up on clearing the Changelings. Rogue is trying to just move the Changelings onto his army because he knows that ByuN has given up on clicking on them. And that already, Rogue can feel himself winning the psychological battle. He's like, oh, you're not even trying to click on those anymore? Command Center lands? It would have got 2 shot. If it took a second volley, it would have died there. All the upgrades coming in on the air units, more Changelings coming in, free units. You know, they've been a problem in StarCraft 2's history, but normally we've been talking about the Swarm Host or maybe the Broodlord or the Infested Terran. Never did I think we would be talking about the Changeling. This is literally a strategy that, like, Billy Bob, the 12-year-old kid, uses to beat his friend in a 1v1 because his friend has a worse computer than him, and if he drops enough Changelings, he knows his buddy's computer is going to crash. Like, this is not something we were expecting to be the meta shift, and yet Rogue started experimenting with this 6 months ago or so, and he's been having so much fun with it.
I understand the fun part. I still don't know if I'm truly a believer, but I mean, this game, it's definitely starting to do its thing. I also think that Rogue maybe could have used that money to just be aggressive with real units and battle and do something about that bottom right side base and the bottom base, especially the one next to his main. I feel like ByuN really had no business securing that, as now some of these bio units are surrounded by the never-ending river of Changelings streaming towards the top right. Turns out if you got 46 overseers pick, you always have time to drop a couple Changelings.
He just made 20 Hydras, did Rogue, which is kind of surprising to me. Hydras, I really think they're okay, I guess, but they're kind of snipe magnets, you know? They're very good targets for snipe, but they are a versatile unit. They shoot up, they shoot down. Gonna deny this command center on the bottom. Another Nidus Worm did just get denied. I do think on paper, Rogue's strategy, if everyone played perfect, would not be good, but people do not play perfect StarCraft. It's about applying pressure and fighting weakness, and ByuN makes a massive mistake moving his libs that far forward. Despite that, the Hydras are still getting shredded, and this is what I've been saying. Do I need to make my rant about Corruptors again, Kevin, after what you just witnessed? Do I need to once again talk about Corruptors?
One last time for the group stage.
Ladies and gentlemen, when you're in the late game, the Corruptor is a 2 armor, 200 hit point unit for 2 supply that does just as much damage as the Hydra without being targetable by anti-ground attacks. On the other hand, you can, for the same supply count, have a 90 hit point, 0 armor piece of garbage that gets destroyed by the Terran unit looking at its direction with a mean look on its face and saying, I don't like you, and it has to run home crying to its mummy. I really truly believe, I get it, it's hard, there's turrets everywhere, but I do think Corruptors are a lot better than Hydras in the later stage. But at this point, it's so hard because there's so many libs, ghosts, and turrets. The ghosts are coming forward, the tanks as well. If ByuN can secure that base, look at the trading. 13,000 resources lost advantage, and his main base is an unbreakable rock.
Yep, and I think that Rogue has also realized that the main base is an unbreakable rock. Trying to get on top of the Terran production is no longer a thing. I think what makes it very difficult for Rogue to build a bunch of Corruptors is all the missile turrets. There's so many missile turrets. They obviously have their upgrades as well, so the range is good. Then you've got those ghosts nearby, and they're gonna have an easy time sniping a few of them. I like the idea of just finding a dream fight with the Hydras, because he does have +3 missile attacks, and he's got Hydra dash. Of course, he's got speed and range as well. So he's got all the upgrades. He's obviously looking for more than let's gun down a Liberator or two. Like, he's hoping that the Hydras can truly stick around, backed up by all the Lurkers, Lings, and Banes, and that he takes an amazing fight against everything, not just the libs.
Oh my lord, the Hydras, they lunge forward, thrusting into the Terran position. The Liberators sieged up the tanks there as well. Great pullbacks for ByuN, and that is such an expensive army. Rogue just took his credit card and threw it into the dumpster. My lord, that man just tried to solve his problems by paying them off. He just tried to do the throw your black Amex at the service person and tell them to deal with it. That was crazy. He is now 16,000 resources lost behind. This is just too deep for you to be breaking with basic units. I think maybe if you go like Swarm Host or something, you can force ByuN out of his turtle shell, but Hydras just ain't it.
Well, he is going to remax the 35 extra Hydras. He did get a bunch of the missile turrets, the Liberators, and I was about to say the Orbital as well, but he doesn't. Now it is going to be ByuN who's actually going to attack this top right side base. There were a couple lurkers there getting some big hits off, just not enough. The Nidus gets picked off as well. Rogue is trying to dash his Hydras all the way back to the top side.
I think ByuN went too deep though.
To lose this base.
ByuN went too deep. He's going to lose that whole drop. The spores are on the right side as well. Wait, no, he gets out. Even the Giga Charge spores, he saves some units. Overall, a good punish there for ByuN, who's now 18,000 resources lost ahead. But his bottom base is going to go down, and he's very low on minerals. So yes, Rogue's almost mined out, but at this point, it's not about anything but efficiency. I get you want to deny the mining here of Rogue, but if ByuN overextends, like he's got to bring his whole army down here right now. He's got so many libs and tanks still guarding his natural and his main. The Nidus worms up there are still panicking him. He needs to realize the only base that matters is this 6 o'clock. It is the only minerals left on the map of any significant amount. Yes, Rogue has 2,500 minerals on the top middle base, but that's not meaningful. This is everything. This base is fresh. The medevacs exposed up the front. The Hydra's going to run into the libs. It's so many Hydras. Oh my god, there's not enough tanks supporting them. The Hydras bust through, the lurkers take out the command center. Dude, Rogue making magic happen. If he can secure this base and mine it out, he will actually win this game. And he just took out so much of ByuN's army. ByuN has 6 more libs, but they're all north. He's got 19 siege tanks. A lot of them are here, but Vipers can answer.
A couple of the tanks could have been a bit closer there. I'm sure that ByuN realized that as well. He's like, wait a minute, if I've got so many tanks, why the hell did I not have a single tank protecting these liberators? Maybe he didn't think that Rogue would ever be crazy enough to steam into that. It just feels like it's gonna go ByuN's way though, because ByuN has orbitals that can move over, can float over for days. He's got 10 ghosts as well. Snipe is going to be incredibly impactful. Rogue had his fun with his 46 overseers, but it turned out to be a very expensive joke, as he is gonna try to get this base. But you know what the Rogue took out earlier pick was like what, 20-30% of ByuN's army? That wasn't the maxed out ByuN. That wasn't the 168 supply. These are not trades that Rogue can possibly keep up with. He knows it. The GG gets called.
Oh my gosh. Sorry guys. Damn, that was crazy. What in the hell? I thought Rogue had that at a few moments there, but ByuN brings it back. Wow, what a wild game. And the mass changeling, ByuN, I think he looked very stressed there, but he does end up holding on and getting it back. What an insane game. After ByuN tried his crazy push and it got cleaned up, I do think Rogue missed an opportunity there to counterattack. I do think he gives up an insane amount of momentum setting up for that style. And I've actually did a big analysis video about this style many months back when he was first doing it. And I came to the conclusion it's an amazing style when you're behind. But if you're ahead, it basically gives your opponent a big chance to come back into the game. And I think we saw the example of it why, which is it takes so long to set up the Overseers and the Changelings. And then it gave ByuN time to go 6 command center, not build a single Marine for 3 minutes and get back into it. But great comeback for ByuN either way.